All right. How's everyone doing this evening? And thank you for joining us on Thursday, Thriving Thursday Live with First Home Alliance. And so we want you to, if you haven't done already, subscribe. We're trying to get that subscriber number up. And so we want you to subscribe to the channel, but also like. And there's a notification bell there. Click that notification bell. So anytime we go live, or we post a message out here, you're going to get a notification. So we definitely want you to be notified. I want to talk to you about this something that's coming next month. So we're gonna be putting this out on a weekly basis. We need for our partners, our community partners. These are the guys that are out there talking to these clients that are in competition to purchase their properties. And I know hopefully they come to you soon and not wait until they walk into an open house and say, okay, I need to get a professional. Okay. We want you to start early. So even if you're a year out, to go ahead and build that relationship, build your team. Come out to one of our classes, start getting coaching from us. So go ahead and start contacting us and as a client. Now, as you professionals in the field, we want you to become a member of our partnership for a coalition. We're going to talk about an event today, and it's going to be very important that you come in and get your branding, also become a partner with us so that you can be, in front of our community and come out and celebrate with us in November. So we're going to talk about that at the end. But what I was speaking of getting in contact with us is like coming out within the next month is a new program. And so we don't want you calling. We don't want you texting. We don't want you to email. We just want you to start watching our lives. Also, go ahead and ask for our update and newsletter. And so we'll send you an update right now. We'll send it out monthly. We stopped doing it on a regular basis, but we'll send you a notice that we're going to have a lunch, like you're lunching a kayak, a lunch in a program. We're going to have a lunch. That's going to be the middle of next month. And so we want you to stay in contact with us, get on our email list, and we're going to invite you to a lunch, okay? A lunch event. And it may be virtual. It may be in person. We're looking for partners. So if you have a facility, you like for us to come over and bring some guests over into your facility, that would be great for sponsoring with us. But also we need monetary sponsors as well. And so if you're interested in partnering with us for this lunch for the new home buying program, please let us know. So send us a message here at help@firsthomealliance.org, or you can give us a call, 703-580-8838, and press option 0. If you want to talk about funding opportunity directly, you can hit extension 106. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. We're going to talk about refinancing, a little bit about that student loan refinancing, or the difference between consolidating and refinancing. And then what we can talk a lot about is refinancing your house and some things to start considering. All right. So to go ahead and get started, Charlene, go ahead and welcome our audience.
Again, thank you so much, guys, for joining us for our Thriving Thursday. For some of us, it's our Thirsty Thursday. We thank you. Like Larry said, we want you to like, click, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and comment. We need the action. We need the activities. So for those of you who are new to First Home Alliance, let me tell you a little bit about us, who we are, the services that we provide, where we provide those services, and a little bit about our inception. I think it's always important to talk about the inception because, truth be told, my clientele is shifting a little bit. I'm talking more to my senior population. At any rate, with that being said, how the inception came about, Mr. Law's mother purchased her first home at the age of 65. That was really, really, really a big deal. That's a big deal to me now. Like, I constantly just think that's such a huge deal. At any rate, so after serving almost 25 years in the United States Army, he decided to serve his community, and that is how the inception of First Home Alliance came about. Now, what is our mission? Our mission is to increase sustainable home ownership to low to moderate income families, along with serving our veteran communities. What are the services that First Home Alliance provide? We provide education, which is a first home buyers class that we have every third Saturday of the month, along with pre-purchase counseling. So what is that? I want to buy a house, but I have no idea where to start. First Home Alliance helps you build that team. You'll always constantly hear us talk about the team because it does take team effort to be able to get to the finish line. We also offer loss mitigation services. What is that? I own my home, but I'm experiencing a financial hardship, and I just don't really understand how I'm going to navigate this. So First Home Alliance will act as an advocate on your behalf to do what? We want to help you prevent going yourself from going into foreclosure. Really want to protect that asset. So we offer that service as well as rental counseling, debt budget management, and financial emergency preparedness. That's been new in the last 5 years, like give or take, due to COVID and some other things, but that's something that we offer. Where do we offer these services? Virginia, Maryland, as well as the South Side of Chicago. But as you can tell by if you like, subscribe, and share, it doesn't matter where you're located. First Home Alliance can assist. So if any of those services pique your interest, as I was going over that, we want you to stay tuned to the end of our conversation so you can find out how to get in contact with us. Larry?
All right, Charlene. So let's talk a little bit about these student loans. And we've talked quite a bit about the different types of student loan. Last time we talked about some forgiveness programs. And so if you can get forgiven, whether it's a short-term program, whether you work for 10 years in the federal government, or it's 25 years, then of course we definitely want you to work towards that to get the loans forgiven. We don't want you to wait until you do you know that these are federal funds. And so it's sort of like, the thing you can pay tax, you will pay taxes until you die, or even after you die, because if you owe, even after retirement, that you still owe the federal government, you're going to have to pay back. And so it is good to go ahead and get these things off your list, off your debtors list, and go ahead and get those student loans taken care of. Now, one of the options, I'm going to talk about 5 tips here in reference to the consolidation and the refinance. One first is consolidation. Generally it's mostly about combining. And so consolidation, basically, I know the language, but basically you're putting it together. You're consolidating it into one. And so that helps. Well, one, it simplified things. It's you putting them all into a single loan. It's simplifying. I know it's sort of hard for me to make sure that all the payments are all going out to the different sources, and sort of like getting the names of the foundations or the grant programs, where you're going to. And so if you can usually consolidate, it will make it more the process. Now, one thing, when you consolidate, it do not necessarily mean you're going to get a lower interest rate. And not all programs are the same. But if you have multiple of the same type of programs, then definitely you want to try to consolidate. So again, the consolidation, you're going to keep it all up under the same roof. You're just basically going to bring it all together, and it's going to simplify the process. And so is it an advantage to do that? In most cases, it is in reference to, simplifying. It makes your accountability. If you're talking about bookkeeping, I know you have help, whether that's a family member, and definitely if you come and talk to a coach or a family or one of our advisors, and you have 5 different student loans, which I've seen a lot. I've seen individuals go out and get a different one every semester. So you may come in with, you got 4 or 5 of these things, student loans, and you're trying to track, are you paying, what type of repayment plan that you're on. And so, yes, consolidating them, putting on to one, it's going to be better to easier to manage. Next, I wanted to give you a tip in reference to refinancing. Now, refinancing, on the other hand, is involved in taking out a new loan. Now, when you refinance, it's in these cases, a lot of times you're going to be refinancing up on different terms. Often it aims at securing a lower interest rate. Often it's at a lower interest rate, with better terms. Not saying it always is going to be a better interest rate, and also not necessarily going to be a better terms. The term, when we talk about, the interest rate and the term, of course, interest, I think we all sort of understand about interest. Interest is the price to borrow money. And so that depends on really the market where it's been set. Now, when you're doing a refinance on your student loans, they will round it up to the nearest 1/8%. And so whatever that number may be, we're not going to, I know they get into the fractions in reference to interest rate. So they're going to round it up to the nearest 1/8. But interest It's fairly straightforward. One of the things that, people I know, we're going to get into refinancing a home, and everybody want to know what the rate. They're not necessarily a lot of times concerned about the fees, the transaction costs when it comes to refinancing, but everyone very much is aware of the rate. So that is one of the things in refinancing that you want to pay attention to is the rate. And the rate of refinance, yes, it makes a difference in what you're going to pay. But also the next thing, you want to look at the term. The term is the length of time that it's going to take. So when you start making those installment payments, how long it's going to be. And so we're going to ask for you to pay attention to the term as well, because a low rate that's at a term of, I'm saying it's a 15-year term or 20-year term or whatever the term that you're trying to refinance for, where versus paying a little bit of higher rate and you're going to pay it off sooner. And if you look at the total amount that's paid, you want to consider both of those, because some time when you have a shorter term, you're going to pay less overall interest overall than going with the longer term. And so again, the terms that you want to look out for, if both the interest rate and the term that is considered when you're talking about consolidation and, well, on this term in reference to refinancing your student loan. Now, the third item that I want to bring to you is the importance of the note that is, if you refinance federal loan with a private lender, you may lose certain of your benefits and your protections. We such as one of the protections that you had on one of the loan was the IDR, which is the income driven repayment. And so now if you are refinancing a different type loan, it's a private loan versus one of the federal loans, that you may no longer have that protection. So you may have a fixed rate, a fixed term, a fixed amount. Your income could be, it's not based on that. It's not based on the income. It's based on what you quoted when you get the refinance. So whether your income go down, your payment is not going to adjust. Of course, your payment go up. You don't necessarily the impact of the change or the impact of your payment is not that much significant if your income go up. But income go down, it is probably want to have that protection for the federal loan if you're in the federal loan. So it would be the income driven repayment. So recall, if you're going into a private loan, you may lose that protection. So it's not the same as the federal. And the other protection that you have is the public service loan forgiveness. And so remember that we talked about the forgiveness where it takes 10 years of the consecutive payments into that payment plan, where if you go from federal into private, then no longer you're getting credits towards that payment. And so you do lose some of your benefits, but again, you want to look overall. So if you don't have that higher or that the amount of the student loan may not be as significant as how it impacts your cash flow. And so if you're making really good cash, such as your career field is really paying off, maybe I'm just saying an engineer or your medicine or something of that sort, and you went from when you first completed your studies, you started off, I'm just going to give a number, maybe making $30,000 to $40,000, and you get the right credentials, and now you are, have this credential, and your income jumped from $40,000, now you're making $80,000. And so maybe if you're in a payment plan and you're switching or consolidating those loans, getting them knocked out, the rate that you're paying, you're looking at the shorter distance, and in a short amount of time, I'll have this paid off. Now that is great, when individuals are in those situations, or if you want to say get caught in those situations where you can really make chunk payments and actually knock that student loan out in a short amount of time. That's all well, but not everyone is so fortunate, if you want to call, or some are not given that opportunity so quickly where the income is at that level. So these forgiveness plans and long-term paying the loans back is beneficial for them. And so if you're in those situations, then most definitely you take longer and the forgiveness plans do work better in your favor there. And then the final point that I want to make is that it's wise to carefully review your current loan terms. Any borrower benefits you may lose. Look at what you may lose. Look, is it really beneficial for you? Because one, it fits one person, may not necessarily have the same impact on your finances for you. And the interest rate offered by the private lender before making that final decision. And again, that interest rate is very important because in the long term is how much you're going to end up paying over the long period, a long time than a short term. And so look at the interest rate. And like I said, that is very important. And you also want to look at the term. And Charlene, you have any student loan situations that you have experienced lately?
Yeah, we had some that I think we touched on this last week, and I'll probably continue to touch on that about individuals who currently have their student loans in deferment. If you're moving forward with a transaction with purchasing, I think we talked on this last week, but I really feel like it's so important to continue to say this, that get your student loan out of deferment when you're getting ready to get into that transaction, so they won't use the total 1% of the balance that is owed versus that monthly payment if you get into that income repayment plan. Again, if you're going into home ownership, don't wait until the day you decide to do your application or your 1003 to make these changes. You really want to make these changes at least 30, 60 days prior to beginning that transaction. Again, get out of that deferment. I know we have a lot of people who was in a COVID deferment and may still be in that deferment. You want to get out of that and go ahead and get it back into that income repayment plan, so that they'll use that specific dollar amount versus your total loan balance. I think that's one of the important key factors I like to touch on.
Okay. All right. And so we definitely like to celebrate a person getting to the end of that student loan debt, whether it's through forgiveness or paying that loan off. And so you do want to move forward and not just sit there in the deferment. And we're going to go from, student loan into the deferments on our mortgages as well. And so deferments they serve their purpose, but the purpose is not there forever. And so if you're in a deferment, that time is still moving. There's fees, there's interest that's still gaining. It's been recommended that if you are in deferment, and if you can, pay the interest each year, at least pay off the interest each year, because when you do not, then an interest is added to the unpaid balance. And so when you do start paying, of course, that loan grows. I mean, you can see it grow. I mean, thousands of dollars each year. And so if you can get into the income-driven program, so you can start making a repayment on an income-driven repayment plan, and that's a way to work your way out of that deferment. And if you can, and of course, if you're afforded the opportunity to work in one of the public service forgiveness programs or the school teacher program, then you want to consider that if you're in that and can take advantage of the opportunities. So again, we do want you to work your way through it. And also starting off, if you can avoid the student loans, then do so. But the cost of education, just like the cost of housing and things of that sort, these loans are out there. And so we do want to take advantage of them and smartly repay them back so that we can balance things out and become more financial capable and increase our capabilities along the way. Okay. I want to, before we go into the home refinance, I want to talk about the and I'm not, I guess maybe we shouldn't talk specifically about the particular program and the interest rate and things of that sort. It's just, I think it would be more talking about both of the programs that we use for down payment, because they are down payment assistance, helping individuals get into a home, whether that's lowering your interest rate or demonstrating how you can get more money for, closing costs. And specifically, programs that we have most of the activity is in the Virginia programs. Of course, we know that we work across state lines, but Virginia, we're very familiar with those programs. They do offer them on a regular basis. One that you get down payment assistance, and also you get interest rate reduction. And so, Charlene, what is some of the advantages of these, I'm saying these loan officers, if you want to say that, and the loan officers actually go ahead and build that relationship with us? And what can you, maybe they can start sharing with their borrowers to get prepared to maybe work with us coming soon?
Yes, I think the importance of loan officers having that contact with the community organization is one. The funding comes to us, and you want to know when the funding comes to us. And if I don't like you, you're not going to know when it's coming to us. I'm just joking, guys. I'm just joking. But it's very important to build those relationships, so when that funding does become available, you're very familiar with the organization's what we call overlays, or the documents that we request, or the time frame that it's going to take to process the file. These are things that are really important, especially when we talk about people in a transaction. Is deadline driven. All of this stuff, when we talk about our field, is deadline driven. And so I think for loan officers to be aware of, the particular organization's, again, overlays, paperwork that's needed, time frame that it takes to process, what it ultimately does is help our customer, because they're your customer, but they're also First Home Alliance customer as well. So it helps our customer get to the finish line. We worked with Spark so much in the past, and I recall just always having this conversation with our clients, our customers, borrowers, what have you, and they say how they're so grateful. And I can see, as the housing counselor delivering the counseling that's required for some of these programs, you see what that application looks like with the assistance or the interest rate reduction, and then you see what it also looks like without it. And that could be, a couple $100 or several $100 sometimes that it helps the borrower. That makes or breaks. Sometimes it makes or breaks whether or not that individual is going to even be able to get to the finish line. So with that being said, I think it's extremely important for our lenders to build a great relationship with these individuals who are facilitating these grants, because ultimately we're all trying to do the same thing. We want to get the borrower to the finish line. So if you stay abreast to what we got going on here at First Home Alliance, you get that notification up front. You're ready. You're ready. We really, guys, we want you to contact us. We want to build that relationship, not 7 days out, the person closing in 7 days, or the person's closing in 2 weeks. Why? We're not doing a disservice. We're not doing a disservice to our client. Your client, our client, we're not doing a service to them if we're not being prepared for the transaction. And so again, that's why it's very important for you guys to have that relationship with us, and us to have that relationship with you. Larry?
Yeah, I was thinking about holding up my manual, the what is it, 7610? The 7610 is the housing counseling guidelines, in reference to, and there's a chapter in there, chapter 4 and chapter 5, that basically list out the items that we need to complete a HUD client file. And so this is, I've had the conversation quite a bit in the last couple of weeks with one of our partners, Virginia Veteran Association of Real Estate Professionals, which is a housing counselor agency as well. And at Home Free Conference, many of the housing counseling agencies down there, in reference to getting those HUD clients. And we share, if you want to call it, techniques and best practices. And so we would love, we touch over 1,000 different service types throughout the year. Some years upwards of 1,500, close to 2,000. And so out of those activities, some education, some counseling, out of those, we would love to have 2,000 service counseling activities, because counseling, we can get all these benefits and things of that sort. But can you imagine all those touch points? We call touch points, the 14 different touch points are really the incomplete file. I think it's like 19 different touch points that have to be done and checked off, basically, when you're talking about a HUD client being audited. And so those touch points, all those things, a lot of them are those requirements that we're asking for when it comes to our down payment assistance programs, because those clients are HUD clients. And so it's very important that we have that. But we don't want it to be, it is tedious, but we don't want it to be difficult. We don't want it to be hard. We want it to be, check, 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 check. And so I would ask that the real estate professionals, but also the realtors as well, the loan officer and the realtor. There's nothing wrong with actually just asking us. You don't have to have a client ready. They don't have to be in the chute in the pipeline. Ask us for our list of guidelines. Ask us. We don't mind sharing that checklist. So when you start having that conversation with the potential borrower, that they can start getting those things together. And also we want to be the doorway to home ownership. And so they I don't know, they treat us bad. I say we're talking about a lot of members in the industry. We get sent the borrower when the borrower is being rejected. The majority of our clients, and we're looking at different partnerships with some major financial institutions out there, and they want to partner with nonprofit agencies. Because they are rejecting so many individuals for all type of loans and credit opportunities and financial opportunities. And then at that time, it's wow, we need the relationship. Go talk to this housing counseling agency. Yes, there's debt management, there's lawyers, bankruptcy, and things of that sort, but we can help avoid a lot of those things. And the cost is nominal. I must stop. You may not pay, but nothing is really free. Nothing is free. And so we want our partners, those lending institutions, to actually, help us monetarily so that we can stay afloat, so that we can not charge a very nominal fee for taking care of those particular costs of rehabilitating the borrower, and also getting them ready so that they can be successful in that loan, whether that loan could be for furniture, stereo, car, automobile, and also a home, whatever that you're trying to finance. When you're turned down on that, then you need someone to coach you back to become credit worthy. And if it's for mortgage, we want to get you back mortgage ready. Well, that's what we do. We can rehabilitate you and get you back on track. But you can also put us in the front. You don't have to wait until you're denied anything. You don't have to wait till someone tell you no, that you don't qualify for a credit card, or they give you a credit card and you're paying 29% when someone else that have the same card is paying 12%. You go for a car loan and they're telling you that you're going to pay 10% when someone else is getting 7%. Why have that hard call? Come talk to us. We can help you get in, at a good level. Yes, we're going to tell you that we're going to ask you to shoot for 700, get a member of that 700 club. That's where we want to get you. And we're going to work towards that. And if you can achieve that or go higher, then that's what we want you to do. And then when it's time for the credit card, it's time for the automobile, time for the home, time for the refinance, you're going to qualify, you're going to be ready. So anyway, we're doing a lot of getting ready for it. But also for our lending professionals and our real estate professional is also prepping your buyers and you being ready as well for the programs that we have coming forward. Build that relationship so that you know what our requirements are. And also when new programs come out, when allocations are given, we're going to notify you when those things come out. And we will make it a routine going forward that we will have a launch. And so we will launch as soon as we are approved for a grant program, then we will launch that. If the date is given, a lot of times we're not given a date. Sometimes it's like, okay, you approve and here, sign the document and you can go ahead and start delivering the program tomorrow as of this day. And so if it's given to us that way, that's the way we have to roll it out. But if we have far enough in advance notice of a date when a program is going to be launched, then we want to hold an event, whether that event is a lunch and learn, whether it's electronic, e-learn, or if it's in person, then we would. So we do know that there is a program that's coming out soon. And so if you're not on we're going to call our community partners list, then I need for you to be on the list, because I will speak of the last couple of programs we have, both the Spark and also the First Home Training. Those programs, that was in the past. When those programs came out, the funds was depleted quickly. And the better the program is for down payment and interest rate, the quicker the funds are exhausted. And so we're going to alert. And I know that there's more people in our pipeline right now. I'm talking about our partners, than it is going to be for, even if we gave each individual one loan, it would be still gone in a short amount of time. And so you definitely want to stay in contact with us, and so that we will, and we're gonna invite you for a lunch and learn. We're going to ask for, maybe our partners to come, that's helping us administer the program, to come out and give your layout as well. But this, to make the process go smoothly, we want to give you our overlays, everything that we need, so you can go ahead and have that checklist. You can have it ready, so when you talk to your borrower, you can check those things off. And these programs that move very quickly, they do require that you have, two big things. You got to have a loan. And so, it's a loan application that you have signed. You're in the loan. And so that means you have given the person a loan estimate and a loan application, along with a loan application, and you have to have a ratified contract. So you got those things. You got those are the major things that you have. But there's a lot of other things underneath that holds us up, that we can't hit our 14 touch points, such as the education. Now, our next class, we just canceled a class. That was last week. We canceled a class. And if you're in the field and out there in the field, you're educating borrowers, you're showing individual homes. I would like for our professionals out there, if someone asks you to go see a home, or asks you to do an agreement with them to do an application or to be their realtor, ask them, have you attended a first-time homebuyer class? If they have not, please give them our website for them to register for a class. They do not have to wait until they do a loan application. They don't have to wait until they do a contract. Ask them to come to a first-time homebuyer class. Because believe me, if you get into the contract and you have a few days before closing and you want this super down payment assistance program, now you qualify and you're going to save hundreds of dollars per month, thousands of dollars over the period of loan. Then you're going to say, you got to go through housing counseling. Not only yes, we can do the counseling, but you also need the class. The in-person class is a 6-hour class, in-person class in a classroom. And we had to cancel because we can't get enough people in the class. Now you can take it online as well, but it takes most people a whole lot more than 6 hours to complete the online class. Well, we will give you information that you can take the class online. It's no cost. You can go in person. There's no cost. Now, if you're in a hurry, there are a couple of programs that you can take that you can pay as well. But again, why get your blood pressure up to complete an online class when you know that you're going to be purchasing a home in the next 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or 180 days? Get the education out of the way. You would be able to have more questions to interview your realtor and lender. Maybe that could be a reason why the lending profession don't want the individuals to go to class. They may ask too many questions after the class because they're going to be empowered. And so we want to empower our clients so that you can ask those questions. And so let's go ahead and get started. If you're listening to the sound of our voice, if this is on replay, then we want you to attend a first-time homebuyer class. We want you to come in person. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to have it in person. We have our real estate professionals that are there in person. And I'm not saying that you have to choose that real estate person, but you get a chance to ask the professional all the questions that you want. You have a lender there that this is what they do every day. They come out, they're going to answer all the questions that you have, to better prepare you for when you go to start doing your loan application. We have a home inspector that gives you a lot of examples of things that are happening during the home inspection. How do you prepare for that? The top 10 questions that you should ask your home inspection. And we also have someone that's do title and closing. And so we have them there. And of course, you have a housing counselor there is going to walk you through the process. And we're going to let you know all the services, just like we did tonight, the services that we can provide before, during, and after you become a homeowner. So go ahead and get started. Enroll in our class, call our office, get started with a mentor or a coach. And if you don't have that team built, we can help you put that team together. We'll put that team together. We'll help you put that team together, and you're going to make all the choices on who do you would like to work with. But we can help you and give you a lot of different options. Charlene, before we talk about refinance, you have any additional in reference to them getting started?
No, just there's really not. The thing I want to say is it's never too early. Even if you say, I want to do this 12, 24 months out, it's okay. It's never too early to reach out to a HUD approved housing counseling agency to begin that process. That's it.
All right. I have a few tips. So I'm gonna see if I can go through 7 tips. What do you think? We got seven tips that we're gonna talk about, and things that you should consider. Things you consider when you consider refinancing. And so the number one thing that you want to consider is what is your goal? No, what are you trying to do? Why are you refinancing? Okay, you purchased a home last year, and the interest rate, you purchased, I don't know, 6.5 or whatever, 6.5, 6 point, whatever. As the interest rate drop, 6.45, 6.25 or whatever. And then, everybody's out here refinancing. So why can't I refinance? I'm going to save, $25 or so on my mortgage. And so sounds good. You start calculating, $25 a month times 360 or whatever. And I save, it may not be right for you. Just because it sounds good, just because everyone else is refinancing, it may not be a good purpose and a good time for you to refinance. So you want to think about what is your goal, what is your purpose of refinancing. Now, some of the things, that may, maybe spur you to have good reasons to refinance. Of course, I would say if it's an investment situation, if it's investing where you actually moving money around so that you can invest, in something that, and we're not talking about a short-term investment. If you're investing things in a long-term investment, then you may want to look at that. You may want to consider that. You want to consider, are you shortening your term? Maybe you purchased a home. My mom, if she would have had a goal saying that she want to purchase a home, before she's, 80 years old, then that, even at 65, like, right, well, I just got this house and I, 80 years old, I want to pay my house off before I'm 80. So she should probably think about getting a 15-year mortgage if that was her goal, because she was at 65 when she purchased. And so I've known relatives and people that I know that are, I'm gonna say seniors are very close to business. No, seniors. And they're getting close to retirement. And they say, like, I want to pay my home off before I retire. And so that may be a good reason to refinance to a shorter term. And so if that's a goal of yours, because when you find retirement, not everyone's income go up when they retire. Most people, when they retire, the income drops. And so if you're looking at the percentage of your cost of living and your housing costs, then you may want to consider whether it fits you to pay that house off before retirement. Not necessarily, and you have to. What I would say, consider your cash flow. Consider cash flow. And so your income can go down, but actually your income can go down, but your cash flow can actually improve. In reference to disposable income could improve if you're not working, such as, over the last few years since the pandemic, my transportation costs has roomed. I was, at one time, 4 to 5 tanks of gas per month. 4 to 5 in the vehicle that I drive when it's running, it's anywhere from $80 to $100 a tank of gas at the height of the market. So when you can go from 4 tanks down to 1, that is significant. And so that could be a person's situation in retirement if you're considering how much you spend on your transportation costs, whether that's fuel or whatever. But you really want to look at that, because will it go up as well? Are you going to travel across country? What are you going to do? But if just some things, it could be a uniform. If you're wearing uniform or your clothing and things of that sort, you're paying to keep up with a certain style or attire that you have to while you're working. That could change. And so, and there's many other things, where you're working, things like that. So consider, what is your goal, and where you are in your timeline, in lifeline, and how your cash is going to flow to help you set your purpose. Charlene, the next one I want to talk about. Can you talk about the next tip in reference, which we already talked on a little bit, about the interest rate?
And so I guess what we're covering is whether or not if you have a good LO, good realtor, they actually become your life LO or your life realtor, or as long as you're in that location. Our community partners, and even ones that aren't, I see how they keep in contact with a borrower and they let them know, like, hey, I just ran numbers and the rate is this, and it's going to save you. We have one community partner, Erica Wogan, with Motion Mortgage, and she'll always say, if I could see that it's going to save a borrower $100 or more, I'm always going to reach out to them and ask them, hey, do you want me to run numbers? So, and y'all, I'm 45, so sometimes I'll be forgetting what I'm talking about. We were speaking of the rates and why it's good to
consider when you refinance.
Yeah. So again, there's something that's called, well, Larry, you touched on the types. There's the cash out, and then there's the rate and term. And the rate and term refinance is one that the individual is saying, hey, I just want to see if I can get a better rate. I don't really want to take any money out of this. I'm just trying to see if I could get a better rate. And what I always say with this too, guys, always think about this. You get a better rate, you can actually determine, to me, your term. Because if my rate goes down and my monthly payment goes down, but I could probably afford the payment that I was paying previously that was a little bit more, then I could still be paying more than what I'm supposed to. I've got in on that excellent rate, so my monthly payment went down. So say my payment went from 2,000 to 18, right? I can still pay the 2,000 and probably cut my term a little bit faster. You get what I'm saying? Like if I see that my rate, that if I decide to refinance and my rate is really going to save me some money, but I'm in a good financial position that, some months I can pay more, that I always tell people you can determine your term by doing something like that. So yes, it's always excellent to follow the rates, look and see if it's going to save you $100 or more. We never really recommend if it's going to be less than $100. I mean, I don't know, Larry, what you think? If it's less than $100, you go with it?
Well, and I kept saying cash flow, and because cash flow to me, it sort of like answers that question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Saving at $100 a month on my mortgage payment, will that make a difference? Well, that's a couple of bags of groceries. That's a tank of gas. It depends on your car. It could be a couple of tanks of gas. And so thinking of that, and if you trying to make ends meet with that cash flow, the $100. Well, let's talk about another. Well, before we get to that other point, that tank of gas, that bag of groceries, in reference to you talk about the interest rate and the term. What's also baked in there, which is that third item, what's baked in there is the closing costs and the fees.
There you go.
Okay. And so it used to be called the truth in lending. Now you want to get the loan estimate. So when you go down and look at all those costs and fees that it's going to take for you to refinance. Now, they during the crisis, they had the streamline. I'm quite sure they still probably have some type of streamline. If you are financing with your current lender, and so you want to ask about that. So if you can get a streamline, it may not require that you pay some things that you would pay if you was going to another lender and you're starting to go through the process all over again. The things such as an appraisal and things like that, sometimes that may be waived. And so you just want to ask all those questions. And Charlene, yes, you did say about that relationship. You want to keep that relationship with your lending professional for the life of your loan, and it's not. And I will be frank with you. I have a relationship with a lot of different loan officers, different ones. And so sometimes I compare. Sometimes I just know I'm getting. You don't always go for the cheaper. Matter of fact, we had a lunch and learn yesterday at a moving company. And this moving company guy was giving he said it so smoothly. We're not the cheapest and we don't want to be. He said, we're not the cheapest and we don't want to be, but we're not for everybody. And
Mhm.
so there are some lenders and real estate agents out there are not the cheapest. They do not have the lowest fees. They may not want to be. You want to be, sometimes they call it a fight to the bottom, a race to the bottom. Who can get to the lowest? That's not quality. And so you do want good relationships. And if you pay the right commission for your lender and for your real estate agent, they're going to be around for a while. But if they're cutting their cost, and it costs to maintain license and training, and they have to live as well. And so if they always cutting costs, they may not be in business very long. And so there's a reason why those fees are out there, and those are professional fees. And that is the cost to do business. And so do not always look for what's the cheapest. And so interest rate can fool you as well. So the rate, don't be fooled by the rate, because an interest rate do not mean that you're getting the best transaction cost, and it may not be the best deal for you. You may be paying a whole lot of fees and a whole lot of other things that may not balance in your favor. And so having that trust in the professional that you're working with, and knowing they're looking out for your for your welfare. And they're not going to the poorhouse doing that as well. And so, yes, you do want to shop around, and you want to build that relationship. And I'll use that term again. You don't want them to talk to someone to have commission breath.
Right.
They'll talk and they'll say anything to go ahead and get that deal closed. Okay. And so that's you want to have a nose for that as soon as you can.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. And so and I'm rambling here, but yeah, the next point, which is at point 5 actually, is that break-even point. Mm-hmm. And so your loan officer, your lending professional can actually lay this out for you, the amortization table. Also look at your fees of refinancing, what you're going to have to reinvest back into this loan, the closing costs and things of that sort, because refinance is not free. There's some cost in there. And then how long it's going to take you to recover that cost for that, and then break even for you to be back at point 0, and then go forward. And so you do want to know your break-even point. That is very important to consider that. If it's going to take me 3 to 4 years to hit the break even, or is it going to take me 7 years to break even? And 7 years to break even on it depends on the time of the loan. If it's a 30-year loan, then it may not be bad. But if it's on a 15-year loan, how much money did you have to put out there within the 7 to 8 years just to break even? And the loan is going to be paid off in a short amount of time. And so also, this is not in the notes right here, but when you start looking at refinance, and Charlene was touching on that quite a bit there, you do not have to refinance to make a different payment. And so you can do biweekly. Now, some of them require you to pay a fee to get into the biweekly program. Some may not. So ask that question. And then some, you don't have to get into a biweekly program. You can just send extra payments in. Some of them may hold that amount of money into a escrow, a expense account, until you get a full principal payment, and then they apply it to a principal payment. And so that happens sometime. You're putting in an extra $25, $30 or whatever. Your principal payment could be $300. Your mortgage payment could be $500 or whatever. But when they hit a principal payment, they'll take the money that they have in the escrow and apply it to a monthly payment. And so still not a problem. You can do payments, put it on the side. And if you look at the amortization table yourself, you can start making principal payments. Start at the rear, 360, make a principal payment. At 359, principal payment. 358, make a principal payment. And as you're marking those things off, you'll see that you'll start shortening your years. Okay. And so it's nothing wrong with that. And just the example that I did, but one, I refinanced the house, I don't know, at least 2 times, if not 3. But the last time we refinanced the first house that we purchased in North Carolina, I think we refinanced 3 times, I think. The last time we refinanced, it was a 15-year mortgage. Financed for 15 years because we had it so long, the payment was really low. And within that 15 years, we paid it off in about 8 years. So we could have, and we didn't really have to refinance 15 years. I didn't know I didn't know that I could have just made extra payments or whatever, and I could have paid it off in 7 to 10 years, and then have to go pay the refinance fee because it was my payment was only $300 a month.
Oh.
it was $300 a month, and so I didn't really.
Electric bill.
I think when the refinance went down like 255 or something like that. I don't know. It was and so paid that off. But that's gas costs, and so fuel costs at this time. But refinance more times than I probably needed to. But
real quickly, I wanted to ask you this: is there any guidance that you would give someone in terms of should they wait? Like, say I just bought my house this year or whatever. Is there a cap or a time frame where you say maybe you shouldn't refinance, or maybe you should wait? Is there any scenarios that you can give audience where hey, it might, maybe not?
I recommended in the industry you should wait. Don't even consider it less than 2 years.
Okay.
And so
Why?
less than 2 years. Because it costs you so much to get into the house. It's front loaded. And so if you look at the cost, that's why you get most of your tax breaks in the first, all the points and things that you pay when you first get into the mortgage. So it's front loaded. You pay so much just to get into the house. And so a closing costs can cause upward of 2% of your loan. And so 2%. So I don't know, 100,000 is 2,000. So 500,000, that's $10,000 that you just paid in this closing cost to close. Now that's $10,000 to get into the house on closing costs, not down payment, it's closing costs. And then to refinance, it could cost you a few $1,000s to refinance. So now it's not, hopefully it don't cost you another $10,000 to refinance, but it could cost you $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to put another $5,000. This is not paying down on your mortgage at all. It's not paying down on your principal. It's not doing any of those things. It's just transaction costs. And so when do you break even? So if your monthly payment is, I don't know, $2,000 and it's going to be lowered down to $19.50, $1,950. So $50, you're saving $50 a month, but you paid $5,000 to refinance. When is your break even? If you would have continued to pay $2,000, how far a loan that you have paid more of your principal off, than going down to $19.50 and then taking you longer to get to that same point. And so that break even point, and a loan officer can show you that very quickly, what your closing cost is going to be, your transaction, because all the fees is going to be, how much that's going to cost you to refinance, and how long it'll take you where those points come together and say, okay, 3 years from now, that's my break even. And so
that example you just gave with the 50 and the 5,000, it would have took me 8 years to get that money back.
Yes. 8 years to break even. Yes. And so so you want to weigh that if it's worth it. And also consider if you just did extra payments, would you be in the same spot, and save interest? So are you going to do that? But if you're going from a 15-year from a 30-year to a 15-year, and you've been in the loan for maybe 5 years or so, yes, it would be advantageous for you if you can afford it to go to a 15. You're going to save a lot. I say you're going to knock off 10 years. You're probably going to be knocking off maybe a little bit more than that, but at least 10 years on the refinancing to a 15-year. But can you afford it? And what's your cash flow? Are you becoming, house broke? And could you just go into a biweekly program and save 7 years? What's the difference between 7 years and 10 years? Biweekly, you're going to save 7 years. Refinance, save 10 years. So, is it putting you in a crunch to get there? And also, when we talk about the purpose, is that your main purpose of paying off the home? I've met a lot of individuals now that paying a house off is not necessarily their goal, their purpose in there. It's really cash flow. And so cash flow. So can I take my house to a 15-year mortgage and pay $5,000 a month and pay it off? Or should I leave it at $3,000 and have the cash flow? And the $2,000 that you're putting in investments and things of that sort, where those investments and those things are bringing in income and things of that sort. So maybe your cash flow flows well with you making that making a mortgage payment versus spending the money where you have no savings, you have no investment, and you're putting all your eggs in one spot into that house. Nothing wrong with having a mortgage paid off. Nothing wrong with that. But that house is an investment. And yes, it have a return on investment. But also when you start talking about real estate, how do you get the money out?
True.
You have to borrow your own money.
Right.
Or you have to sell the asset. And so it's collateral. So it becomes a bank for you, but you have to borrow your own money. But it's still an asset. Because if you borrow your money on your house to pay for college, to start a new business or whatever, you're borrowing your money at 6%, where if you went to the bank, they're going to charge you 12, 18%. And so it is still worth you having the asset to borrow against your own asset than to have to borrow from the bank on their rate. And so it is an advantage. And we do have to put our risk money into something that is a hard asset that is going to continue to increase in value. So real estate is one of the vehicles that you want, but you don't have to put it all into real estate. Okay. All right, Charlene, I didn't think I had that much to talk about refinance today, but we got something else going on. That's what's coming up in November.
All right, guys. So we have our annual awards gala coming up November 8th. It's going to be at the Hilton Garden in Woodbridge. Available. We got slots available for sponsors. If you want to get out here and showcase your business, this is a wonderful opportunity to do so. Again, we always say supporting our community as we support our small businesses. So if this is something that you think you're interested in, please, you can reach out to us for sponsorship opportunities. Again, this is going to be Saturday, November 8th. We kick off at 6 o'clock, our networking reception. We do, again, as you see on the screen, here's our sponsorship opportunities. You're trying to showcase that business. You're trying to get in line for 2026. You want to do bigger and better. This is a great event to participate in to catapult 2026. And so again, that's going to be November 8th, kick it off at 6 o'clock at the Hilton Garden in Woodbridge. It's a great opportunity to really just come out, support your community, and we have a good time while we're doing it. All right. This ain't no stuffy gala where you just sitting there looking at your clock and wondering what time you can sneak out. It's not one of those. Great opportunity to network and to support the community. Also on that day, we have our luncheon, our veteran luncheon, November 8th with our American Legion Post 114. Sponsorship, if I'm correct, opportunities available for this event as well. This kicks off at 11:30. Come out, support our veterans. Again, there's sponsorship opportunities for those who want to support the community. You can get in contact with Larry. How do they get in contact with the sponsorship opportunity for Post 114?
Yeah, just contact me.
Okay. There you have it.
Or they can scan that barcode right there.
Screenshot your computer right now. Scan that barcode. Keep that information. Get in contact with Post 114. Get in contact with First Home Alliance. If you are feeling like you're in the giving season, you want to support and give back, these are two wonderful events to participate in. As always, we want you to join us every Monday at 7:15 as we start our week with Tippy, getting that good exercise, breathing, all of that good stuff that you want to start your week off with. I've been slacking for the last couple of weeks. I've been sick, but I'm going to get back into the groove of things. This is a wonderful way to do that. Our next first-time homebuyers class is going to be on October the 18th at the McCourt Building, in Woodbridge. We talked about these different programs coming up with these grants. They require you to have education. Why not go ahead and sign up now and knock that one off the list? I think that about it. Saturday, First Home Alliance will be in Clinton, Maryland. We're going to be at the Berean Baptist Church. We're going to be talking to our senior community about some of the resources that are out here, as we do see some of our numbers have picked up in terms of foreclosure with our senior community. First Home Alliance will be out there letting people know about the programs and products that can help them along the way. All right.
Okay, Charlene. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And again, to continue to follow us on social media and visit our website for all upcoming programs and events. And we'll talk to you next time.
Have a great evening.
All right. Bye-bye.